Hello, good morning. Watching Breakfast with Louise Minchin and Dan Walker.
Our headlines for you today at 6 o'clock. The target for offering a vaccine to all over 50s and people in high-risk groups in the UK is met 3 days early.
High streets and beer gardens are busy once again as lockdown restrictions ease in England.
Honestly, it feels so good. It just feels like we're out of prison.
It is a freezing cold morning here in Shropshire, where some people are waking up after spending their first night under canvas because camping and caravanning restarted yesterday as England's great outdoors reopened for business.
Good morning. Can Sam Allardyce pull off yet another great escape as West Brom secure back-to-back league wins for the first time this season, boosting their hopes of survival?
Good morning. It's not just in Shropshire it's freezing this morning. Temperatures are widely below freezing. There's a widespread frost, there's some patchy fog, but a lot of us will have a dry, sunny day with just a few showers. I'll have all the details coming up.
Morning to you. It's Tuesday the 13th of April. Our main story for you. All people aged over 50 and those in high-risk groups have now been offered a first dose of a coronavirus vaccine. It means the government has met its target of offering a jab to the top 9 priority groups by the 15th of April.
Further details of the next stage of the rollout are expected to be announced later this week. Our health editor Hugh Pym has this report.
The progress of the vaccination programme in the UK has been widely acclaimed, and the target of all 9 priority groups being offered a first jab by April the 15th has been met as expected. That covers all those aged 50 and over, NHS and care staff, and the clinically vulnerable. A total of 32.2 million people have had a first dose. NHS England said that 19 out of 20 of those most at risk of the virus have been vaccinated.
The highest risk population in the country are vaccinated and will have protection from severe disease and hospitalisation. We've got a long way to go. The next group coming forward, group 10, the 40 to 50-year-olds, really need to step forward and take the vaccination when they're offered.
The pace has slowed this month because of supply issues with the Oxford AstraZeneca jab. Vaccination centres are concentrating on second doses. But today capacity will be boosted with the vaccine provided by the American company Moderna being given to patients in England. It was made available in Scotland and Wales last week. Further information on the next steps of the programme are expected in the next few days, with the expert committee, the JCVI, advising NHS leaders and ministers on how to proceed with immunising those under 50. It's understood that invitations to people in their late 40s will go out soon. Ministers have indicated that, subject to supplies being available, the target of offering a first dose to all adults by the end of July is still on track. But in a reminder of the continuing threat, it was announced last night that surge testing will be introduced in 2 London boroughs, Wandsworth and Lambeth, because of more cases of the South African variant. Officials will be closely monitoring the spread of variants and the number of infections following the partial easing of restrictions, ahead of decisions on moving to the next stage. Hugh Pym, BBC News.
Now, many businesses across the UK have opened their doors to customers for the first time in months after coronavirus rules were eased yesterday.
The most significant changes came in England, where shops, hairdressers and pub gardens were allowed to reopen. Tim Muffet reports.
Finally, a sense of release.
It just feels like we're out of prison. I feel good!
I've obviously just been trapped inside doing the same thing, like work, go to sleep, work, go to sleep. It's just nice to be like out and about.
The streets of Soho in London have been deserted for so long. Last night, the energy and alcohol returned.
Your first time out in months, what's it been like?
Amazing. It's lovely just to see people out, just to have some kind of normality, like just to have life around us. Missed it so much.
Across England yesterday, there were big steps back to normality. This sports centre in St Austell in Cornwall, one of many reopening its doors.
Usually I hate getting out of bed on a Monday morning, but last night I was dancing around the house and my son thought I was crazy.
Lovely.
In Lytham in Lancashire, Shirley was able to return to her favourite shop.
It's just nice to be back and see people I know so well.
Lovely to have you back, Shirley. It's lovely.
In Birmingham, a chance for a grandma-to-be to pick up some essentials.
My daughter's having a baby, so lots of baby clothes, towels, pyjama bottoms.
But for many, it was that pint in a pub garden that tasted so sweet.
One taste, 1 second. Oh, that's beautiful. Well worth the wait.
Well, there's no kicking out time. By law, all drinkers are already outside. But pubs and bars are now starting to close. For the first time in months, it's time for drinkers to head home.
It was just nice to just be socialising with people and just be out, and I feel like it's been so many months that we've been away from our friends.
Bit of cleaning up to do.
Yeah, of course. You know, when it's everybody left, I have to sweep all the front of the shop and just, you know.
But you don't mind cleaning up?
I don't mind. I do anything.
After a brutal year for pubs and bars, for some business owners at least, sweeping the streets has never felt so satisfying. Tim Muffet, BBC News.
So certainly busier times. The reopening of non-essential shops in England and Wales brought queues to towns and cities for the first time in months. And Sarah Corker is at an outlet shopping centre in Cheshire for us this morning. Can tell us a little bit about the numbers there and everywhere else. Morning.
Yes, good morning. Shoppers were out in force yesterday, weren't they? I'm here in Cheshire Oaks. It's a designer retail outlet with more than 150 stores, and it was incredibly busy yesterday. This, of course, is a huge week for retail shops reopening for the first time after more than 3 months in enforced hibernation. And as you say there, shops, high streets across England and Wales were busy with queues, weren't they? There were lots of people eager to get into stores like Primark, Debenhams, JD Sports, to name just a few. And I think that really shows that there is this pent-up demand and lots of people just keen to get out and about into the shops once again. Businesses, they've also spent huge amounts of money making sure their premises are COVID secure. We've all got used to the stickers on the floor, the one-way systems and a bit of queuing. But there was some subdued demand in other areas. Now, if we take a closer look at some of the numbers, it really helps to paint a picture as to what was really going on. So if we compare visitor numbers from yesterday with a similar time last year, footfall was actually significantly up. I don't think that's a big surprise because this time last year we were going into the first lockdown. So to get a clearer picture, we have to compare footfall with pre-pandemic levels. And what that actually shows is that visitor numbers on high streets across the UK are actually down by 16%. So I think that what that shows really is some people still feeling a bit anxious about coming out onto the high street, and it really is going to take some time for the retail sector to recover fully from this economic shock. We've talked a lot, haven't we, about how online shopping has really boomed during lockdown. The pandemic accelerated that shift towards internet shopping, and what retail parks and high streets need to do is work a lot harder to entice customers back in sufficient numbers.
Sarah, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
There's been a second night of confrontation between police and protesters in Brooklyn Centre, the Minneapolis suburb where a black man was shot dead by police on Sunday.
Officers fired tear gas as crowds defied an overnight curfew. Meanwhile, the trial of the officer accused of killing George Floyd in the same city is entering its final stages, as Peter Bowes reports.
Another tense night. Unrest on the streets of Minneapolis in response to the police killing of another black man. This was already a city on edge. The renewed anger and frustration follows the death of Dante Wright, a 20-year-old motorist who was shot by a female officer after he was stopped for a minor offence. He'd attempted to escape when the police tried to arrest him on a previous warrant. This body cam footage shows what the police chief said was a fatal mistake.
It is my belief that the officer had the intention to deploy their taser, but instead shot Mr. Wright with a single bullet.
The swift release of the body cam video appears to have been an attempt by the police to show transparency in the face of immediate criticism. President Joe Biden said he'd watched what he called the graphic footage, and he was waiting for an investigation to determine whether the shooting was an accident. In the meantime, he said people should stay calm.
There is absolutely no justification, none, for looting, no justification for violence. Peaceful protest, understandable. And the fact is that, we do know that the anger, pain, and trauma that exists in the black community.
The Minneapolis trial of Derek Chauvin, the former police officer accused of murdering George Floyd, is moving into its final stages.
Your experience
over the next few days, Derek Chauvin's lawyers will present the jury with their case. As the trial winds up, extra security members of the National Guard are being drafted in around the courthouse and across the city as emotions run high. Peter Bowes, BBC News, Los Angeles.
Ministers will face further questions in the Commons today over David Cameron's lobbying of the collapsed financial firm Greensill Capital. A spokesperson for the former Prime Minister said he would be glad to take part in the independent review of the firm's activities, announced by Downing Street yesterday. There have been calls for the rules around lobbying to be tightened.
Prince William and his brother, Prince Harry, have paid tribute to their grandfather, the Duke of Edinburgh, ahead of his funeral this coming Saturday. In separate statements, Prince William described him as an extraordinary man with a mischievous sense of humour, while Prince Harry said his grandfather was a man of service, honour and great humour, calling him a legend of banter.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.